Right, so we're going to put the edging on. There's lots of different types of edgings you can do. This one is going to be working into the third loop only of a half double crochet. So the first thing we need to do is work half double crochets all the way around. So I'm going to start in the hem on the front edge. And again, I'm just going to put my hook into that stack single crochet or top of the 3 chain, and I've chosen to edge mine in the dark green. So I'm going to pull through a loop. Okay, so this time we're going to secure the yarn by chaining 1, and then we're going to chain another 1 just to give us the height of a half double crochet. And I am keeping my tail to the left to try and trap it in with the stitch so that it won't unravel until I can come back and sew it in. So I'll just go a bit closer. Right, so we've got our chain 1, yarn over, go in to the same stitch, keeping that tail and the 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over, pull through all 3. So if you've never done a half treble before, it's quite a straightforward stitch. You just pull through all 3. Okay, so next one I'm going to work into the space instead of that chain. So it's only that point where we had a chain just to create that gap. So you'll only have to do that at that point. And then now it's quite nice. We've got all these stitches we can work into. So we yarn over, we look at the V at the top of the stitch, and we push our hook into the V with that strand underneath, just in case you've never worked into the stitch, because I know up to now we've mainly been working into gaps. Pull through all 3 and just continue working into that part of each stitch, making half double crochets. So this will carry on quite nicely until you get to the split again, where we need to negotiate where to put our stitches across the seam that we made earlier. And equally, when we come to work row ends, we'll need to think about that a little bit as well as we come to that part. Usually it's better to just work into the gap. It makes quite a nice, neat, closed-in stitch. So when we get to there, we'll have a look at different things we could possibly do, depending on what kind of finish you want. But for now, let's work until we get to that split in the middle. Right, so I've arrived at that seam in the middle. Now mine's slightly different because I added 1 row extra into the back seam. I've ended up with my raw edges, or it's not a corner like it would be if I'd just left it at this point. So if that's the same for you, you've added into the back without adding to the hem, you'll need to do what I'm going to do here. If, however, you do have the 2 corners together, you're just going to do what we did on the sleeve, but you'll work a half treble instead of the cluster of 3 double crochets. So you'd yarn over, go through the front available loop like we did on the sleeve on both sides, and then just work your half treble stitch, sorry, half double, and then continue along into the gap, into the stitches. So if that's what you've got, that would be how you would do that. So it's exactly the same as what we did on the sleeve, really. Obviously I haven't, so fortunately I'll be able to show you both techniques. Depending on what you've got here. You might even have more rows of this if you put extra width in the back without adding to the length. So it's all dependent on the fit that you've gone for. Okay, so I'm going to work into that space there because I've not got the corner there. And then I've got a gap. So I'm going to work into the space and I'm going to put 2 half double crochets into that space. encasing that last post. And then I'm going to work these two front loops together with a 1 half double, just to make that neat join. And then where I've got this post again, I'm going to put 2 half doubles. Okay, and you can see that's quite a neat edge, encasing the post, keeping that gap. And then I'll work into, apologies, I'll work into the space of that corner. And then into the individual stitches. Apologies if you can hear my dog having a whinge. Yes, you. Okay. Right, so we have fairly neat bit of edging there. So we're going to continue all the way around. We'll encounter a similar issue at the neck, which I will cover that as well just in case, but it will be similar to what we've just done there. Okay, so I've come to the other end of the hem edge. So I'm going to work my half double into the gap and then work 1 into the top of that stitch. Okay, so now we're at the corner. So to go around the corner, we're going to want to put another stitch in that last one, just to increase so that we don't get a stretching on the corner. And then we're going to go into the side of this stitch and put 2 half double crochets. So we've got 1, 2. And similarly with this one, I'm just going to pull apart the stitches and I'm going to put 2 over the post of that stitch, encasing the post again. Now when I said I'd give you options, I will do, you can work into the stitch as well. So let me take it back a little bit, and then you can push your hook into the side post, making the stitch directly into the side of the post. Okay, so that's a way of doing it, by putting the stitch into the side of the stem, or working into those strands that are available. But I do think for this, obviously because we've got 2 different colours going on, it would look better, in my opinion, to put the half double crochets right over that stem of that stitch. Encasing it a little bit. And the general rule that I use when we're working along the edges of stitches is to use 2 stitches per post if it's a double crochet that you're working around, because that seems to fill the gap quite nicely without spreading it or pulling it up. So 2 per post. And that brings us back to our ordinary stitches. So I'm going to go into that gap and begin working into the stitches again. So when you come to your raw ends or the sides of stitches, and that's your technique there. Okay. So the next tricky part to work on will be the neck. And depending what kind of fit we want or how your tension is, it's all very variable. You might want to do a decrease when you turn the corner at the neck, just to stop it becoming stretched looking or frilly. But obviously I will cross that bridge when we come to it. So I'm just going to continue now up this side till I get to the neck. Okay, so I've come to the back neck here, which is in my left hand, and then this is the top of the shoulder seam. So as you can see, we've got the front edge working into the back edge. Now, if you added to the front edge, you will have the probably the raw edge that you would have joined up on the seam, as I showed you how to do on that video. So your corner might look slightly different to mine because you might be working into these row ends again. However, if you do have this corner, each corner of the hexagon there, if you're following this exactly as I'm doing it, you're going to want to make a decrease now, because we want to sort of draw this together. And the same will be true if you're working into a row end. So we're not going to yarn over. So I'm actually going to do a single crochet decrease instead of a half double, because when you do a single crochet decrease, it becomes a half double stitch because you draw through 3 loops. So it's as if we've done a half double across that side, and it'll look quite neat. So I'm going to go into that space and yarn over, pull through as if I was doing a single crochet, won't finish the stitch, and then I'm going to go into the other space and then yarn over, pull through. So you can see I've got 3 loops on my hook, and it's going to pull all that area together, pull through all 3. So it looks the same as a half double, but it's drawing in and decreasing at the top of that seam, which is helpful. As I say, if you had made your seam differently to me, when you were joining up the seams, you would have had to do a little bit of stitching to stitch it together if you'd added into the front. So yeah, this is going to be a little bit different for you, but just try and make that decrease into the gaps that's available to you. And then we've got this double crochet again. So we're going to go down behind the post, encase the post with 2 half double crochets, and then again into the next one. And what this does as well is it slightly decreases all the way around, which makes it a bit neater around the neck, because the last thing you want on the neck edge is for it to splay out and go frilly. So again, I'm just putting 2 half double crochets into each row end, and then we've got this seam again, where I'm just going to go into a front loop and a front loop, and then make a half double just to cinch it all in. And then we're back to working over the posts again. And if we just stop to have a look at that neck edge, we'll see that it's pretty nice and smooth. And we do have a bit of a right angle there, but when we work another couple of rows, that will soften. And if we need to decrease again, we can do. To be fair, if you're only doing 2 rows like I'll be doing, you won't really need to decrease at that point, because it's not going to be so long that it'll frill. Okay, so obviously we're going to encounter that same scenario at the other side of this neck. I'll work my way across to there. So we've got this gap there, so I'm not going to yarn over, then I'll yarn over, pull through, then I'll go into the other space, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on hook, pull through all 3, which ties that all nicely in. Okay, and then we're back to working in the stitches, and we've almost gone all the way around the neck edge, the front edges and the hem in one row. And then I'm going to show you how to work into the third loop only to create a rib effect that's going to be vertical rather than horizontal ribs. It's going to be vertical. It looks very nice on this cropped design, this bit more spring summer version of a Hexa cardigan. But the world's your oyster with a Hexa cardigan. Once you know the formula, and once you know how to do basic edgings and how to work on the raw edges, you can then just go off on your own mission. Choose your own adventure, and you can make it fit however you want. You can make it as long as you want. You can do what you want with the sleeves. It's brilliant. And you can use different stitches. You don't have to stick to granny stitch for your hexagons. And the opportunities are endless. And I think once you've completed this cardigan, you won't really need to refer to the video or pattern. You can just wing it, as it were, and make all sorts of shapes and sizes of cardigan. You can even make jumpers as well, where you'd obviously just join the front seam and the back seam. Okay, so when I get to the end of this front edge, I'm going to have to deal with these row ends again, but I'm just going to do exactly what I showed you before, and I'm just going to slip stitch into the first stitch that we made. So I'll meet you there. Okay, so I've got to the starting point and I've slip stitched into my first stitch. So now I'm going to chain one. I'm going to turn the work, so we're actually working on the back of the work, which obviously I haven't really done up to now. And we're going to start working back down these half double crochets. So we're going to put more half double crochets in, but we're going to work into this third loop here. So when you pull through all three loops, you've obviously got two sitting at the top and one a bit further down. So when you work into this third loop, what happens is the V from where we would normally work into the top of the stitch gets tipped and rolled onto the outside edge. So you'll see it down the front of the cardigan and it looks really nice. And it's quite simple, straightforward to do. So we've just done the chain. And now we're going to yarn over, and this is our first third loop. Sorry, it's typical I'm using a dark colour at this point. Hopefully you can see. So under that third loop, and you're just going to continue making your half double crochet just into that one loop. Don't worry if it pulls up slightly, that does happen, but once you've gone all the way around, it will settle down, it will sit like it should. So I'll show you again. Yarn over, this is your next third loop, pull it over your hook and just make the stitch. So remember that you're working into the stitch, so you need to yarn over first and come back through, and then yarn over again, pull through all three. It's just like you would do if you're working to the top of the stitches. And then you're going to work your way down, and it's up to you. You can just work on the front edge if you want and leave the hem with that single row, or you can work this all the way around. I'm going to work it all the way around for this one. So again, third loop. And I'll continue on camera for a few more stitches just so I can show you the effect that this is going to have once we've worked a few stitches. We'll be able to see. Just go a few more. see if you can see the effect at this point. So we turn it over. Yeah, so you can see that that's laying nicely, and these two loops have been tipped over, and it makes that vertical rib effect. So one row of this could just be enough. You might be happy with that, but you can do as many rows as you like. But yeah, it does look quite good. So I'm going to take it all the way around and show you how to finish it off in the corner, and then I'm probably just going to leave it at that for this cardigan. Right, so when you're working in your third loop only and you're coming up to that other corner on the hem, you just want to make into that corner half double crochet, you want to make 2 into the third loop only. That just stops it from bunching up and helps you to create the crispness of the corner, because if you didn't increase there, it would round off too much and it might pull in a bit. Okay, so once you've got 2 in there, you can carry on working around and back onto that straight side. Right, so I've come all the way back round to where I started. So I'm just going to go through the top 2 loops of the first half double crochet of that round and slip stitch to finish off. And if you do want to do more rows, you can do. It's entirely up to you. But it does make, for this summer version, a nice neat edge. Okay, turn it the right way out. You can have a look what it looks like finished. There we go. So yeah, you can see that's quite a nice, neat way to edge just this short shrug version of a cardigan. Don't need anything too bulky or hefty on the edge. It's worked quite nicely around the neck. And that, for this version, is it. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed doing this, and I hope your cardigan comes out well. And I hope you make many more.